Imagine working for 10 years, saving every penny, building your dream home, only to have your family hand it over to your spoiled little sister like it's a gift bag at her engagement party. That's exactly what happened to me. But instead of rolling over and letting them win, I made sure they'd regret ever trying to steal what I built. If you've ever felt underestimated, disrespected, or treated like the black sheep in your own family, this story is for you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready, because you're about to hear one of the most satisfying revenge stories you'll ever come across. I'm 32 years old, a teacher in Philadelphia. Not exactly the kind of job that makes people gasp at cocktail parties, but teaching was always what I loved. I wasn't chasing yachts, designer shoes, or fancy titles. All I ever wanted was security, my own corner of the world where no one could tell me I didn't belong. And that's exactly what my apartment was. It wasn't huge. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a tiny kitchen that could barely fit 2 people without stepping on each other's toes. The kind of place where the heating clanked in the winter and the windows rattled whenever the subway passed. But to me, it was everything. I still remember the first night I slept there. The air smelled faintly of fresh paint mixed with the musty scent of old wood floors. I didn't even have a bed yet, just an air mattress in the middle of the living room, my cat curled up beside me, and a pizza box for a nightstand. I didn't care. That creaky little space was mine. Every paycheck I'd saved, every double shift I worked tutoring after school, every summer spent working camps instead of vacationing, it had all led to those 4 walls. But here's the thing. My family never saw it that way. To them, my apartment wasn't an accomplishment. It was just a thing. Something they could belittle or, worse, take credit for. My mother especially. She had this way of making every milestone of mine feel like a placeholder until my younger sister Jennifer came along to outshine it. When I bought my car, she told me, well, it's not brand new, but it's a start. When I landed my first teaching position, she laughed and said, teachers don't make real money. You'll learn. And when I closed on my apartment, she shrugged and said, that's cute. At least Jennifer won't have to worry about competing with you anymore. Jennifer, the golden child, 5 years younger than me and treated like royalty since the day she was born. While I was scrubbing dishes at a diner to pay for my textbooks, Jennifer was dropping out of college because the professors didn't vibe with her learning style. While I was clipping coupons, Jennifer was on vacations paid for by my mom and dad. She never had to struggle, never had to wonder how rent was going to get paid. And yet, she was always painted as the one with potential. The shining star. The one everyone in the family believed would marry rich, live in a big house, and make us proud. Me? I was just Samantha, the dependable older daughter. The one who stayed quiet, worked hard, and never asked for anything. But here's the truth no one saw. My apartment wasn't just property. It was proof. Proof that I didn't need their approval, their help, or their money. Proof that I could build a life on my own terms, even if they sneered at it. Every corner of that apartment told a story. The mismatched couch I rescued from Craigslist and reupholstered myself. The second-hand bookshelves sagging with dog-eared novels I'd collected since college. The photo wall in the hallway, smiling kids from my classes, thank you notes written in crayon. My family didn't see those things as valuable, but I did. They were pieces of me. And still, even with all I had built, I always felt the sting of their dismissive comments. Like when Jennifer came over once, wrinkling her nose as she looked around. It's cute, Sam. Kind of like a starter place. I can't imagine living here long-term, though. Don't you want something bigger? I remember biting back the urge to scream. Starter place? This wasn't a pit stop. This was my destination. But I swallowed my pride. I always did. Because in my family, speaking up only earned you more ridicule. So I kept quiet, smiled, and kept building my little life, one paycheck at a time. Inside, though, a seed was growing. A quiet, unshakable certainty that one day, the way they dismissed me would come back to haunt them. I just didn't know yet how soon that day would arrive, or how brutal it would be. Because while I saw my apartment as a sanctuary, my family, they were already plotting to treat it as their next free gift for Jennifer. And the betrayal was about to be announced in front of an entire room of people. The night everything came crashing down didn't even start like a warning. It was supposed to be a celebration, my sister Jennifer's engagement party. Held at one of those overly decorated banquet halls with gold-trimmed mirrors and chandeliers that looked rented straight from a wedding magazine. The kind of place my mother loved to flaunt. I remember pulling into the parking lot, already rehearsing my polite older sister's smile in the mirror. My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter than I wanted to admit. Because deep down, I knew how these family gatherings always went. Jennifer in the spotlight, Mom glowing like the proudest parent alive, Dad nodding silently in the background. And me? Just the convenient backdrop. The supportive sister who clapped, smiled, and quietly disappeared when no one was looking. Inside, the place was buzzing. Tables draped in white linens, waiters weaving through with trays of champagne flutes, laughter echoing from every corner. I slipped in, wearing the simple navy dress I'd picked from the clearance rack. Jennifer, of course, was already center stage in a glittering gown that probably cost more than my entire monthly paycheck. She spotted me, waved like she was royalty acknowledging a peasant, and squealed, "Sam, you made it." Her fiancé Mark stood beside her, tall, polite, but with that slightly overwhelmed look of a man who had been dragged into my family's chaos. "Wouldn't miss it," I managed, hugging her stiffly. Her perfume was so strong it made my eyes water. The night dragged on in its usual way. Relatives gossiping, Jennifer basking in compliments, Mom flitting around like the queen bee she believed herself to be. I mostly kept to myself, sipping a watered-down cocktail and watching the clock. And then it happened. The DJ cut the music, and a hush fell over the room. My mother stepped onto the stage, microphone in hand, smiling like she was about to announce she'd won the lottery. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, voice booming, "thank you all for coming tonight to celebrate our precious Jennifer and her wonderful fiancé Mark. We are so thrilled to welcome him into our family." The crowd clapped, Jennifer blushed dramatically, Mark gave an awkward little wave. I leaned back in my chair, ready to endure whatever over-the-top speech Mom had cooked up. But then she said it. The sentence that made my stomach drop so hard I thought I might pass out. "As a special engagement gift," Mom beamed, "we are giving Jennifer and Mark a beautiful place to start their life together. Samantha's apartment." The room erupted into applause. I froze. Literally froze. My champagne glass hovered halfway to my lips, and I couldn't even finish the motion. Did I hear that right? My apartment? My home? Jennifer squealed, hands flying to her mouth in fake surprise. "Oh my God, Mom. Really?" She rushed across the stage to hug her, while people around me clapped harder, murmuring things like, "What a generous family," and "Jennifer deserves the best." Mark looked stunned for a moment, his eyes darting toward me across the room, like he wasn't sure whether to smile or apologize. But Jennifer elbowed him, and he quickly plastered on a grin. Meanwhile, I sat there, my heart pounding so loudly I could hear it in my ears. My throat tightened, heat rising up my neck until my whole face burned. I wanted to scream, to shout that this was insane, that my apartment wasn't theirs to give. But my body betrayed me. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. People began turning in their seats, nodding toward me. "That's so sweet of you, Samantha. Wow, giving up your place for your sister. You're such a blessing." My nails dug into my palm under the table, sharp enough to break skin. I forced a weak smile, but inside, it felt like something had cracked open. After the announcement, I cornered my mother near the dessert table, my voice shaking. "What the hell was that? My apartment? You can't just..." She cut me off, her tone dismissive, like she was scolding a child. "Don't be selfish, Samantha. You're older, you'll figure it out. Your sister needs it more than you do." "Needs it?" I hissed. "That's my home. I worked for that place, every dime of it." Mom's eyes hardened. "And what? You're going to let your sister start her marriage in some dingy rental? Don't be dramatic. You can get another apartment. Jennifer deserves a good start." Deserves. That word. Like I didn't deserve anything. Like 10 years of hard work meant nothing next to Jennifer batting her eyelashes and saying please. Jennifer herself strolled up, overhearing just enough to smirk. "Come on, Sam. Don't ruin this night with your drama. You'll be fine. It's not like you're married or have kids, you don't need the space." Her fiancé looked uncomfortable, muttering, Maybe we should talk about this later," but Jennifer waved him off. The humiliation burned through me. People were watching us, whispering, pretending not to listen. My own family, the people who should have been proud of what I built, had just stripped me bare in public. And worst of all, no one, not my dad, not an aunt, not a cousin, said a word to defend me. I left that night with my stomach in knots and my mind spinning. Every laugh, every clap, every smug look from Jennifer replayed in my head like a cruel loop. By the time I crawled into bed, staring at the familiar cracks in my ceiling, one truth had taken root. They weren't going to stop. They weren't going to give me my apartment back. In their eyes, it already belonged to Jennifer. And if I wanted to keep what was mine, I'd have to fight like hell to do it. The days after the engagement party felt like being stalked by my own family. At first, I thought maybe it had been a misunderstanding, that Mom had spoken too soon, and once she cooled down, she'd realize how insane it was to gift away my apartment like a party favor. But no. That night was only the beginning. The very next morning, I got the first phone call. "Sam," Mom's voice chirped through the line, fake sweet. "I hope you're not still upset about last night. Jennifer's been dreaming about this for weeks. Don't make it difficult for her, okay?" My chest tightened. Dreaming about it? Mom, she didn't even know until you announced it. "Oh, don't be dramatic," she snapped. "You're 32, single, no kids. You'll be fine. Your sister is starting a new life. She needs this more than you do. Family comes first, Samantha." That became her refrain. Family comes first. As if I wasn't part of that family. As if my sacrifices didn't count. Then Jennifer started in. Texts, calls, even dropping by uninvited. "Hey, sis, when do you think you'll be out? Mark and I want to start measuring for furniture." "Don't take this so personally. You'll land on your feet, you always do. And my personal favorite, you should be happy for me. Why can't you just be supportive for once?" Every word was a knife, sharpened with entitlement. Dad was no help either. When I finally confronted him, hoping for some sliver of support, he just sighed and muttered, "Don't upset your mother. You know how she gets." Translation: stay quiet, let Jennifer have her way, don't rock the boat. Even extended family chimed in. An aunt called to say, "It's just an apartment, sweetheart. You can always get another one. Think about your sister's happiness." Just an apartment. No one understood that it wasn't about four walls and a roof. It was about respect. About 10 years of grinding work, saving every penny, building something on my own when everyone else doubted I could. And now they wanted me to just hand it over like a hand-me-down sweater? I'd lie awake at night staring at my ceiling, replaying their voices, the guilt trips, the accusations that I was selfish. My hands would clench so tight around the blanket that I'd leave crescents in the fabric. The worst part? A small, traitorous part of me wondered if they were right. If maybe I was the selfish one. If maybe I should just give in, like I always had, to keep the peace. But then I'd walk through my apartment, brush my hand along the bookshelves I'd built, breathe in the faint lavender from the candles I always lit after work. And the doubt would burn away, replaced with something sharper. It wasn't selfish to protect what was mine. It was survival. And if they thought I was going to roll over this time, they had no idea what was coming. The breaking point came on a Sunday morning. I was in sweatpants, sipping coffee, when I heard the sound of keys rattling at my door. My heart dropped. No one should have been coming in. I set the mug down, nerves prickling, and when the door opened, there she was. Jennifer. With Mark trailing behind her, carrying a tape measure. "Surprise," she sang, striding in like she owned the place. "We wanted to get a head start on measuring for furniture. Don't worry, we'll be quick." I just stood there, stunned, my coffee cooling on the counter. "You, what?" Mark gave me an apologetic shrug, already stretching the tape across the wall. She wanted to check if the bed would fit in the bedroom. Jennifer laughed, waving her hand like I was being dramatic. "Oh, relax, Sam. We'll be out of your hair soon. We just need to figure out where to put the vanity and the dining table. Oh, and we'll probably knock out that little wall in the kitchen later, it'll open up the space so much." Something inside me snapped. I looked around at them, Jennifer treating my home like a showroom, Mark scribbling notes on his phone, and I realized. They weren't waiting for permission. They didn't care what I thought. In their minds, this place already belonged to them. For a moment, I thought about yelling, about throwing them out on the spot. But then a strange calm washed over me. My lips curved into a smile, the kind that wasn't really a smile at all. "Sure," I said softly. "Go ahead. Let's see how this plays out." Jennifer blinked, caught off guard by my tone. But she quickly brushed it off, chattering about curtain colors while I stood silently, my mind spinning. That night, lying in bed staring at the ceiling, the decision crystallized in my chest. If they wanted my apartment so badly, fine. They could have it. But they wouldn't get the home I built. They'd get 4 empty walls and nothing else. And I was going to make sure of it. The moment the idea hit me, it almost felt wicked. I sat at my kitchen table late one night, the only light coming from the little lamp above my fridge, and I whispered the thought out loud just to hear how it sounded. If they want the apartment, they can have it. Just not the way they think. I let the words linger in the air. My heart beat faster, not from fear this time, but from a kind of electric clarity I hadn't felt in years. For so long, I'd been the one swallowing anger, taking the hits, nodding along to keep the peace. But now I had a chance to flip the script. The plan unfolded piece by piece. First, I called a moving company, quietly, discreetly. I scheduled them for the week Jennifer and Mark were supposed to move in. The man on the phone asked, full move or partial, and I laughed, a sharp little sound. Everything, I said. Every last thing. I started gathering boxes. Big ones, small ones, even old liquor store crates I begged from the corner shop. Each night after work, I'd carefully pack away my life. The couch I'd fixed up. The books that lined my shelves. The kitchenware I'd collected over the years. Even the curtains I'd sewn myself. Down they went, folded neatly into a box. Some nights, the work made me cry. Wrapping each dish in newspaper felt like tearing pages out of a book I'd written with my own hands. But under the sadness was something stronger, resolve. I wasn't losing this battle. By the end of the week, the apartment looked like a skeleton of itself. Bare walls. Empty closets. Just shadows where my things had been. And I didn't stop there. I unscrewed the shower rod, rolled up the bath mat, and took the shower curtain too. I removed every light bulb from its socket. I even pulled the outlet covers off the walls, tiny pieces, but they mattered. Because the point wasn't just to move out. The point was to make it crystal clear, this place was mine. And without me, it was nothing. When the last box was loaded into the storage unit, I stood in the doorway one final time. The echo of my footsteps on the hardwood floor was almost eerie. I reached into my bag, pulled out a single sheet of paper, and laid it on the counter. In bold black ink, I'd written 3 words. Then I walked out, locked the door, and slipped the key into my pocket. For the first time in years, I felt taller. Lighter. Like maybe, just maybe, the balance of power was finally tipping in my direction. Jennifer and Mark were scheduled to move in. I knew because Mom had texted me earlier that week. Have your things cleared out by Saturday. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I didn't reply. That Saturday morning, I parked my car down the street, just close enough to watch without being noticed. My stomach churned, but my hands were steady. Sure enough, around noon, 2 SUVs pulled up. Out spilled Jennifer in oversized sunglasses, Mark lugging a box, and my mother orchestrating the whole thing like she was running a parade. My dad followed behind, quiet as ever. I stayed hidden as they carried the first box up the stairs. For a moment, I almost felt bad. Almost. Then I heard it. Jennifer's shriek, so loud it echoed down the block. Where's the couch? Where's the fridge? I smiled, leaning back in my seat. A few seconds later, Mom's voice cut through the air, shrill and furious. What the hell? Where's everything? From my car, I pictured it perfectly. The bare walls, the empty kitchen, the echo when they spoke. My note sitting neatly on the counter, waiting like a punchline. Mark's voice carried out the window, low and embarrassed. Babe, I think she cleared the place out. No. Jennifer shouted, her heels clacking across the floor. She wouldn't. This is supposed to be ours. I could imagine her pacing, her face turning red, realizing the apartment she thought she owned was nothing more than a hollow box. Then Mom, Samantha. Her voice cracked like a whip. Where is she? Where's her stuff? I didn't move. Didn't answer. Instead, I rolled the window down just an inch, enough to feel the summer air on my face as I whispered to myself, right where it belongs. With me. Jennifer's voice turned shrill, almost panicked. We can't live here like this. There's nothing here. Not even light bulbs. Mark muttered something I couldn't catch, but his tone was sharp. Maybe, finally, even he realized what kind of family he was marrying into. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel like the background character in Jennifer's spotlight. I felt free. I started my car, the engine purring to life. And as I drove away, Leaving their shouts and outrage behind me, I felt a weight lift off my chest.
They wanted my apartment.
They could have it.
But they couldn't have me.
I don't think I'll ever forget the image I saw in my rearview mirror as I pulled away. Jennifer stood in the middle of the empty living room, her hands on her head like the ceiling had just caved in. Her perfect engagement party manicure didn't look so glamorous when she was clawing at her own hair, screaming like a child who'd just had her favorite toy taken away. Mark was slumped against the wall, rubbing his forehead, muttering something that sounded a lot like, "This is insane." His tone wasn't sympathetic. He sounded embarrassed, maybe even angry that his fiancée's family drama was now spilling into his life.
And Mom? Mom was the loudest of all.
Her voice carried all the way down the stairwell.
"Samantha.
You ungrateful little. How dare you embarrass this family like this?"
Embarrass the family. That was her biggest concern. Not the fact that she'd tried to publicly steal my home. Not the years of sacrifice I'd put into building it.
No, what mattered was that, for once, she didn't get her way. For a split second, guilt tried to creep in. That old, familiar voice inside me whispered, "Maybe you went too far.
Maybe you should have just let it go." But then I thought of every condescending comment.
Every time I was told Jennifer deserved more. Every time my accomplishments were brushed off, minimized, ignored.
No. This wasn't too far. This was justice.
I imagined them wandering through those hollow rooms, their footsteps echoing off bare walls, realizing the truth. Without me, there was no home.
Just an empty shell. And for once, I wasn't the one left hollow. They were.
By the time I reached my storage unit, my hands had stopped shaking. I unlocked the door and looked at my neatly stacked boxes, my furniture wrapped in blankets, my life preserved and waiting for me. I ran my fingers across one of the boxes labeled books, and a slow smile spread across my face.
They thought they could erase me.
That I would quietly hand over everything I worked for, just like I'd always done.
But not this time. This time, I won.
Jennifer's meltdown, Mom's fury, Dad's silence, it was all proof of one thing. They had underestimated me. They'd forgotten that the quiet ones, the ones they dismiss, are often the ones planning the most carefully. And as I stood there in that storage unit, surrounded by everything that was mine, I felt something I hadn't felt in years.
Peace.
Not just because I'd kept my apartment from them, but because I'd finally taken my power back. They could scream, they could gossip, they could twist the story however they wanted. But deep down, they knew the truth.
I wasn't their doormat anymore.
I was done playing the role of the forgotten, compliant daughter. And in that moment, with my life stacked neatly in boxes and their rage echoing behind me, I knew one thing for sure. The best revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just walking away, leaving them with nothing but the emptiness they tried to give you. In the weeks that followed, my family tried to rewrite the story. Mom told relatives I'd betrayed them. Jennifer went around whining that I'd sabotaged her future.
Dad, as always, stayed quiet.
But the beauty of it was, they couldn't actually touch me anymore. The apartment wasn't theirs to claim, and all their yelling couldn't change that. For once, I didn't feel the urge to defend myself. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I simply moved on with my life, watching from a safe distance as Jennifer's picture-perfect facade began to crack. I later heard through the grapevine that Mark wasn't thrilled about the apartment fiasco. Apparently, the embarrassment of standing in an empty home had been too much for him. Their relationship, once plastered all over social media, started showing signs of strain.
It wasn't my doing.
But I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel like karma.
And Mom?
She eventually stopped calling, except for the occasional guilt-tripping text.
But those words didn't sting anymore.
Because I'd proven to myself that I could stand on my own, even against the people who had always tried to control me. My family might never respect me the way they idolized Jennifer, but here's the thing, I don't need their validation anymore. I've got my own life, my own strength, and, most importantly, my own peace.
So, what do you think?
Was I wrong for taking everything out of the apartment before my family could steal it, or was it the only way to finally reclaim my power? Personally, I believe some betrayals deserve silence, and some deserve action. In my case, action spoke louder than words, and the echo of that empty apartment said everything I'd been too afraid to say my whole life. If you've ever had to stand up to toxic family members, or if you've had a moment where walking away was your ultimate revenge, let me know your thoughts in the comments.
I'd love to hear your stories.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, And hit that notification bell for more true Reddit revenge stories just like this one. Until next time, stay strong, stand tall, and remember, sometimes the quietest revenge is the loudest of all.